Hey guys, it's ExandShadow, and welcome back to Let's Play Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures. In the last part, we took care of both the Blizzard of Balls and Boo! Haunted House, and now we are going deep into the realms of Assholevania. Now, you see, this is part of why I love this game's humor so much, not just because it has references to Angry Video Game Nerd and stuff like this, but, you know, obviously they were going to do a Castlevania-inspired level, but I love the name because it rhymes with castle, well, sort of. It's such an Angry Video Game Nerd thing to say, even though I don't think it's ever been said in any of the nerds' videos, so, you know, I just love that name. Assholevania must be the best name for any video game level ever. And also, there's just some, or I wouldn't say subtle, because, you know, that's obviously the Majora's Mask moon in the background, but, you know, it's just nice to see some references to games that I don't think he's ever really talked about before either, so, you know, that's nice at the very least. So anyway, you could use Mike Matei here to get both a beer and an extra nerd if you need it, so that's pretty nice, I guess, although it does make this jump coming up here with this spike ball a little bit more difficult, because normally you could just stand on where the blocks were and jump it relatively easily. But, yeah. Now, if you're playing this level for the first time, and especially if you don't have the guitar guy, I would not recommend going into this level with as many lives as I have right now. I went in with about, like, half a life counter, and you're probably going to need all 30 lives the first time you try this level, especially because there's a section towards the end, which is a major lives drainer if you're trying to do it with the nerd alone, and even when you're trying to do it on just your first time, even if you got the guitar guy. Now, the guitar guy is very useful in this level when you're not walking off of platforms. He's pretty useful in this level because there's a lot of instances where his faster running speed comes into play, and also he can the way that his waves arc as well as pass through objects, it makes him very easy to hit, particularly those axe throwing dudes. You know, it's a good. He has a lot of instances where he comes into play here. So, if you're going through this level, even if you don't have the Bullshit Man or Mike Matei, you're definitely going to want to make sure that you have the guitar guy. Just because he's so good in this level. And now, I wouldn't recommend playing the entire level as him, because there are plenty of places where you're going to want the nerd's higher jump and slightly better traction. But the guitar guy is a very, very good choice for quite a few number of points in this level, so yeah. You're going to want to make sure that you have him before you go here. And also, yeah, they just give you a life there. I think if you go more to the left, there might be a cameo there, but I decided not to check it for this playthrough, even though I probably should have. So, I think the Bullshit Man would probably make that area easier to reach. So if there is actually a cameo over there, somebody please let me know. I don't want to miss too much stuff for this playthrough. So yeah, again, the Castlevania level is really where the level design shows its, I guess, the patience is a virtue-ness of it a lot, because Castlevania, as plenty of people have pointed out in their, like, oh so academic level design studies, and okay, slight tangent. I love that about this game, that as long as you touch the checkpoint, it activates. You don't, with any part of the sprite, so you could die and still make it to the checkpoint, and that comes into play more often than you'd think, so I like that. But anyway, Castlevania, for the people who really pay attention to level design, old school Castlevania games are sort of famous for its sort of wait-and-see approach, but then that's really where this game, when you compare this level design to Castlevania, you know, it's like you're playing a Castlevania game, but only the controls are good. So, yeah, that's pretty sweet. Anyway, this section right here, with these flashing blocks, you're going to want to be the guitar guy for this, because this section right here is a lives drainer to the extreme. Now, you can get through it with just the nerd. I was able to get through it with just the nerd on my first time through, and yes, that's my one of my Steam buddies playing Bastion. But, yeah, if you don't have the guitar guy, especially this section right here, it becomes a hell of a lot more difficult. Just because you've got such a short point for where it's safe to get to the next spot. And while it is possible to get through the entire game as just the nerd, it's very likely that you'll probably die quite a number of times. On my first playthrough, I got like 4 game overs here. It was ridiculous. Also, I think oh, well, that was dumb. I don't go for that one up there because although I'm because you'd have to make a kind of a tricky jump in order to get that. And to be honest, I'd probably die more times than I would gain by getting the 1 life if I tried to go for it. So that's why I decided not just to ignore that one. Although, if you're confident that you're a bad enough dude to be better than me, then go right ahead. Now, actually, you might be wondering, I talked about how great the guitar guy was in this section, so why am I the nerd here instead of him? Well, with these with these red blocks that go super fast, you actually are going to want the traction more than you're gonna want the guitar guy's faster speed, just because the area is so small that if you press the control pad for like a millisecond too much, the guitar guy will slam into those death blocks. So when the space is that small, I'd recommend the nerd, but when you've got to go through larger patches of disappearing and reappearing death blocks, bring out the guitar guy. He makes the section so much easier. Also, this is what I was talking about when I was talking about areas where the super scope is useful, because in this area, you know, it's a death trap and there's lots of obstacles, but for one thing, this is one of the easier death trap areas in the game, and for another thing, there's actually a lot of enemies to fight against right as soon as you come up with against them. So you know, you actually do get to take advantage of the super scope like immediately. Actually, you know, you actually can take care of like a good handful of enemies with the thing, and if you manage to get through this obstacle course section without getting hit, you can also use it against the enemies coming up. So that's another thing that I really like about it. Now you're gonna want to be really careful here though, because there is a safe spot right here. Like if you crouch right near the beer, but you just got to be really careful because the safe spot is very pixel perfect there, and you're gonna want to watch. You're gonna watch carefully because it's very easy to get hit and to lose the super scope there. I gotta say though, I love this game's music, but I don't particularly like this track. This track's good, but not amazing. But one thing that I do like about this track, you can sort of hear it right now, is that there are hints of the iconic Bloody Tears riff hidden throughout here, which is I find rather interesting. Well, not interesting. It's a nice subtle reference, I think, that for the Castlevania level, you've got something that sounds sort of like Bloody Tears playing in the background, or at the very least, the background beat sounds similar to it. And I like this better than like Assholevania, where it's basically Schmutty Schmears is their reference song. So yeah. That's always bugged me about Assholevania. It's just like they've got a song that's basically Bloody Tears, but not. It's my original fan character, Bloody Tears. So, So yeah, now I don't have the super scope. I keep on wanting to call them super soakers for some reason, but I don't have the super scope for this section, and I'm like fucked. So I'm waiting for those ghouls to come back, but you know what? It's just screw it. Bum run or not. Yeah, this is another really difficult section, particularly if you had lost a lot of lives to the instant death section right before it. You know, this area can leave you with dangerously low lives right before the boss, because the boss comes up. This is the last obstacle course right before the boss, which I suppose is again trying to be another reference to the original NES Castlevania, because like Death was considered the hardest boss in that game, and right before him you had this really obnoxious room. So again, the references in this game aren't always just a really obvious reference to one of his shows, or one of the or like, you know, just like something really obviously like the Bimmy's coming or whatever. Sometimes the references can be pretty subtle and nice, and I really do like that. Oh god fucking damn it, more collapsing blocks. See, that always happens, and it's like the one part of the level design I really don't like about this game. So anyway, this is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and how this boss fight works is that when he's Jekyll, you can't hurt him. But if you're good about jumping over his projectiles, you can sort of like swoop under him as he's jumping over you, and then you just hit him more as well. You can't hurt Hyde, but you can shoot Jekyll a whole bunch. And now that boss is actually pretty tricky, but once you figure out the correct way to jump under his attacks, he's really not that bad. So anyway, in the next part, we're going to go to Thy Farts Consumed. I'm ExandShadow, and I'll see you guys later.